Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And the people I thank who've inspired me, I hope they can inspire you as well. And I will have links below this video to their sites. They are Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Elon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rabbi Daniel Asur, Rabbi Michael Skobach, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Usher, Rabbi Ron Yervain, and Rabbi Yosef Chesney. So if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link below to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the soul means, what it stands for, what I'm doing. So today I'm taking, again, reading from this wonderful Sefer called Lilmod U'LiLamed by Rabbi Mordechai Katz, and I'll put the title underneath so you can also check it out. And I've used this before, but haven't used it in a while, but now I'm using it again for some of the upcoming parashiyot. So this one is on the upcoming Parashat Vayetze, and I call this, because I took this from what the notes are in here, or the stories, like the insights that he gives. I call this be honest at all times. Hashem is always watching. I think that's what it is. If not, it'll be something similar to that below. I believe that's what it is. So this first starts talking about Yaakov and Lavan. And so our forefather Yaakov made a special point of practicing honesty throughout his life, even in the potentially corrupting environment of Lavan's home. When taking care of Lavan's sheep, he cared for each and every one of them and made absolutely sure that no harm came to any one of them, though they were not his own possessions. He even stayed up during the cold nights to protect the sheep, for he had promised Lavan he would care for his sheep, and he wanted to fulfill that guarantee. Naturally, he did not take any of the sheep for himself without permission, though Lavan would probably not have noticed the loss of a few sheep. Yaakov was a firm believer in this statement. Truth is the tree of life, whose fruits you shall eat all your days. I like that. That's beautiful. Our Rabbanim learned from and copied Yaakov's admirable traits. They recognized that one must be honest at all times. That's where I got part of the title from, and the rest is from the next sentence. For even if one feels that no one is noticing his deception, and I add that's basically in Olam Hazeh, meaning in this world nobody's noticing, you can hide it. Hashem is always watching. So the quote-unquote man upstairs, he's not a man, but that's just kind of the title, moniker, meaning that there's somebody is watching, so beware. So now I'm going to go on to share some of the stories he has here. And there's quite a few really good stories, so I'm going to try to share them all but not make it too long. So this is from a Rabbi Safra. He owned a store, and one day while he was reciting Kriyat Shema, a man entered the store and asked to buy a certain item. Not noticing that he was, so I'm kind of like paraphrasing, so it won't take long. So noticing that he was davening, they were reciting Kriyat Shema, he offered a certain price. So this Rabbi Safra did not respond. The man thought that his silence meant that his offer was too low, so he should raise the price. So he raised it again. And then again he was silent, so he raised it again. So finally, Rav Safra, he finished his prayer and turned to the man and said, I will accept your original offer. For originally I had decided to sell it to you for that price. The only reason I did not respond earlier that I was praying. And if I accepted more money than you were originally willing to offer, I would be dishonest. Beautiful. And that's from Makos 24a. So that's a really nice story. The next one is about Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. He lives in a city in the south of Eretz Yisrael. And two poor men who came to seek livelihood in that region, they stopped at his house and they left a small amount of barley seeds in his care. But they never came to reclaim it. So in their absence, he planted, sowed, and reaped the barley year after year and stored all the proceeds in the barn. And then 7 years later, these two men happened to pass by Rabbi Pinchas' house, and they remembered the seeds, and they said, can you please return them to us if you still happen to have them? So instead of giving them a few seeds, he led them to the barn and opened the doors. Noting their surprise, he told them, it's all yours. Now go get donkeys and camels and take away your treasure. And that's from Bava Metzia 28b. So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair could have easily given them back just a few seeds and kept the barley all for himself. But he was absolutely honest in his dealings. And the next story is about the Chafetz Chaim. So then he has a couple stories here about him. So the first one is, in a bathhouse, he once saw a person using an article that belonged to someone else. And the Chafetz Chaim went over to him and whispered, a person who washes himself. The sentence is so, Chafetz Chaim is so amazing how he brings out the importance of what he's trying to say in a way that really hits home. You'll see after I read this sentence. So what does he say to him? A person who washes himself with something that does not belong to him ends up dirtier than when he started. He such a genius, to the way he said it. The next one is also a really good one too. Chofetz Chaim came to a few minutes late to the train station, and he wanted to send some books on the train that was going to depart, but it was past the time when the parcels could be processed for the train. So it's different today, of course, than it was then. So the clerk in charge, he greatly respected the Chofetz Chaim and smilingly told him that he would place the parcels on the freight train for free. But the Chofetz Chaim refused. And only the owner of the train company has a right to forego payment, is what the Chofetz Chaim said. Since a clerk is merely an employee, he would be considered robbing not to pay the proper amount. So there you go. Again, very honest. So it sometimes seems such a simple, inoffensive matter to gain a few dollars or a few points by telling a little, what they call white lie, or by doing a little unnoticeable cheating. What could be wrong with this? But it is wrong, and overcoming the desire to do so is one of the greatest tests we face. Just like Yaakov Avinu are proof that the tests can be passed. Meaning, don't overlook that. Be honest in everything you do. And then another admirable trait exhibited by Yaakov was his ability to learn how to improve himself from even the most despicable of persons. They say we can learn something even from the worst people in the world. Yimach Shemam, Hitler, Haman. There's things you could learn. You learn what not to do. So that's what you're learning. Not only didn't he adopt his idol worshippers' ways, and he stayed in his home for 20 years, Lavan's home, but he learned how to enhance his own avodat Hashem. For he noticed that whenever Lavan was practicing deceit, Lavan did so with great enthusiasm. If only I could show the same enthusiasm when serving Hashem, thought Yaakov, and so he began worshiping Hashem with added zeal. So there you go. He learned from him how to use more enthusiasm. And then another story about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak. I think this will be the last story, or actually there's two more. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, he was another who derived a positive lesson from the wickedness of someone else. So he was on a mission to raise funds for Pidyon Shvurim, that's to free Jewish prisoners, and he was pounding on the doors, and he found that he was not collecting much, so he was frustrated. And he wondered, perhaps I'm wasting my time to collect the money. I should just go back home to learn Torah. Again, I'm just paraphrasing, so we'll get through this. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was just then asked to visit a prisoner who had been caught stealing and been placed in jail, and he agreed. And then when he arrived, he told the culprit, look what trouble you've caused, by stealing. I hope this is a lesson to you, and then when you're released from jails, you won't return to your evil ways. For you see, not only didn't you get to keep the money, but you also went to jail. So you lost both ways. So he said, that's all right to the robber. If I didn't succeed in the crime this time, I will succeed next time. That's what his answer. So what did Rabbi Levi say when he heard this? He said, if after all his suffering, the thief didn't become discouraged and is willing to try to steal again, then what right do I have to become discouraged in raising money? Forget about returning home. If I did not succeed in raising funds tomorrow, then today I will succeed tomorrow. Meaning, he learned from him that not to give up. Although the robber should have given up, but so he learned from him. So that's the lesson of Zrizus, which is enthusiasm. It can be learned even from the lowly ant. The ant is small, but is far from lazy. It goes about gathering one piece of food after another for its tribe, though it eats only a small portion of the food. I mean, it gathers enough food for eternity, and it only eats so little, but it keeps gathering. It's amazing. If you ever watch them when they do their gathering, or when they're running up the trees, up the trunk of the trees, I've seen them. It's amazing. You watch them pick up these little things of food, and they bring it to wherever. I don't necessarily see the end of the trail, but so if we could be only half as zealous in our performance of mitzvahs as the ant is in his work, we would be in a much better position. That's from Mishlei 6. I think Shlomo HaMelech talked about that. Then the last story is about Rabbi Shlomo Salanter. He was once watching a tightrope walker very carefully. When he was asked why he was so immersed in observing the man walk across the wire, he replied, imagine the concentration that goes into every step the tightrope walker takes. His life hangs on every move. One false step and he can plunge to death, his death. So we should remember to say our prayers with the same concentration and devotion. So maybe we need to start thinking about that when we're praying. We are actually, our life hangs in the balance, so to speak. So what is the end saying? Is you never know. Our lives maybe hang on every word we say. So that's very important to remember. So honesty, like they say, honesty is the best policy, and it always will and always will be. And I hope and pray that we'll all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.